because they know they can get away with it. They know that your attention will go elsewhere, okay? Today, you tap in. Today, you tune in, but tomorrow, you'll forget about it because they know that even if you do pay attention to it, you will inevitably feel discouraged. You will inevitably feel like change is an impossibility. And therefore, you'll seek out nihilism. You'll seek out appropriate targets that you can go after. You'll seek out areas that seemingly are more malleable, people that are more accessible, like your least favorite Twitch streamer or your least favorite fucking content creator, this or that. These systems are seemingly impenetrable. And that's why I understand why people are so malleable and why people fight amongst themselves, because they feel like maybe it's easier. Maybe it's easier to just like have the government pack up vulnerable populations that I've been taught to fear. The working poor get shafted worse every single fucking year, okay? That's what happens when you have no safeguards. That's what happens when there's no counterbalance. So, of course, this country that successfully destroyed any alternative vision for an economic evolution is going to have an audience of receptive, brainless losers who will then turn around and say, no, it's not. The systems that we exist under are not the reason why we're suffering. It's the Guatemalan migrants. It's the transgenders. Okay, well, Donald Trump is doing unlimited warfare to all of those groups. Does it feel like things are more affordable for you? Wake up. At some point, you have to recognize that it's actually not the trans neighbors that you have that are destroying your lives, that are dominating your lives. It's not the Guatemalan immigrant that is just working a fucking factory to make sure that, you know, you can get cheap goods and commodities that you can consistently consume. That is actually the reason why you feel like you're never going to be able to own a home or retire at a fucking reasonable age. We exist under the complete domination of global capital, multinational corporations that are owned by people who have no loyalty whatsoever beyond expanding their profit margins when profit rates have a tendency to fall. They will constantly seek out extra profit margins everywhere they can. And the only malleable aspect in the commodity production side that can be squeezed is labor, whether that be seeking out new labor markets after you have dominated them through war and designing a system of unequal extraction from the global south, or whether it be gig economy jobs that are readily available for all so that you can always have a fucking cheap servant at your disposal through your fucking phone. But when one side of the equation, when an alternative vision is cast aside as dangerous, scary, violent, Americans find themselves in this drunken stupor as they sleepwalk towards fascism. Because there are other alternatives. When capitalism inevitably creates economic pressure, when capitalism inevitably creates these shocks within the system, fascism thrives because it's seen as a way to restore the hierarchical order by force. That's how it works. That's how it worked in Nazi Germany. That's how it worked in Mussolini's Italy. And that's how it's working here in the Western world. It's not just the United States of America. We say jump. Those European leaders say how high. They are completely and utterly servile in a way that is impossible to ignore now. Why is it impossible to ignore? They come after spending years and years shitting on Donald Trump, calling him an orange buffoon. They come and they genuflect. They come and they say, yes, sir. Yes, master. We will give you more tithing. We will do everything in our power to make you happy. So if you're wondering, if you're following from Europe and you're looking at all the chaos that's unfolding in America and you're saying, oh, well, at least we're not here. At least it's not happening here. You are looking into the future. For years and years, Europeans would come into my chat and be like, Hasan, you guys are such fucking fools. You're so silly. You're so stupid. We don't have this kind of shit in Europe. And I told you, I warned you, I said, what happens here today will happen in Europe tomorrow. And in the last decade of me constantly saying this, you saw the rise of AfD in Germany. You saw the rise of nationalists in France. You saw the rise of the Reform Party in the UK. Fascism is everywhere in liberal capitalist countries. And they are going to do the exact same thing that Donald Trump is doing right now when they have a little bit of the grip of power. Okay? When they control the levers of power, they are going to turn around and they're going to suppress dissent. They're going to violently and physically apprehend you. The only way out of this, the only other alternative out of this is socialism. The only other alternative out of this is to talk to your neighbors, organize in your communities, explain to them that it is actually global capital that is destroying their lives. Because these people do not actually hide in cigar smoke filled back rooms where they fantasize about what to do with you, where they treat you as cattle. They do it in broad daylight. They do it at the World Economic Forum. They do it at Davos. They do it at the G10 summit. They do it at these summits where they get together and say, hey, we all have our class goals, right? We are aligned by the same interests. They do it in broad daylight. And the only reason why they can do it in broad daylight is because so many of your neighbors, so many of your friends have been deluded into thinking that the socialist alternative is dangerous. The socialist alternative is scary. That, oh my God, there could never be a better system than the one that we exist under. And the other system is scary and dangerous and violent. I've been warning about this moment in American history for the past decade, every single fucking day. Every single day. They won't even let you in on a crumb of the profits, the super profits that they are generating in the heart of Western Empire. And they won't even do it as riot tax. They won't even offer you modest social democratic reforms because they know they can get away with it. They know that your attention will go elsewhere, okay? Today, you tap in. Today, you tune in, but tomorrow, you'll forget about it. Because they know that even if you do pay attention to it, you will inevitably feel discouraged. You will inevitably feel like change is an impossibility. And therefore, you'll seek out nihilism. You'll seek out appropriate targets that you can go after. You'll seek out areas that seemingly are more malleable, people that are more accessible, like your least favorite Twitch streamer or your least favorite fucking content creator, this or that. These systems are seemingly impenetrable. And that's why I understand why people are so malleable and why people fight amongst themselves, because they feel like maybe it's easier. Maybe it's easier to just like have the government pack up vulnerable populations that I've been taught to fear. There is no difference between a black person and a white person. There's no difference between an undocumented migrant and a documented migrant and a natural-born U.S. citizen. No difference whatsoever. Not even a little bit. Everyone has unlimited potential. It is up to us to unlock said potential. But people, unfortunately, are held behind through systems of inequality. And the people that refuse to address those systemic inequality would rather have you servile, would rather have you deluded, would rather have you angry and fighting amongst yourselves. It's not different from when Lenin presented this reality, and it's not different right now. I'm not saying something that is new, okay? This has always been the design. The only difference now is that capitalism is completely won. It has dominated our lives. It has dominated our existence. We take it for granted. We think it's a part of the human nature. We can't even envision an alternative reality where we say, hey, can people get a little bit more in return for their productive labor, for their output? No. That's socialism. That's terrifying. That's bad. Why do you want to reward lazy people? They're not working hard. And this is not a CEO saying this. This is not the owner of a mega corporation saying this. This is Americans who work that are saying this. Think about that. They've been so brainwashed and so fucking brain broken that they turn around and say, people just like me, people like me, working an honest job, people that look exactly like me, people that have the exact same class interests, they're bad people. They're the real enemies, actually. And not capital, not capitalism. God forbid. And they fucking toil away and they get their little treats on the sideline so that, you know, for a brief moment, they feel a sense of autonomy, a sense of purpose in their lives, a sense of humanity in their lives, and they just move along with their day. And change seems impossible. Change in the appropriate direction seems impossible. But as material conditions worsen day in and day out, people get resentful, people get angry, and there's one party that takes that anger, that captures that attention, that captures all of that enmity and redirects it back to targets that are vulnerable, targets that are easily dismissed, because most people don't care. Most people are too self-invested. Most people don't have time to care. Most people are too busy trying to make rent. Most people are too busy trying to afford their fucking groceries. Most people are too busy with the fear that if they, God forbid, something terrible were to happen, they're going to be saddled with medical debt. So in that process, they get more and more angry. And then when someone comes along and says, you're angry, and it's because the groceries are too expensive, right? But you know who's made the groceries too expensive? The fucking Guatemalan dude that is slaving away in 100-degree heat to make sure that you can have tomatoes. That's the reason why your groceries are expensive. And when we deport that guy, instead of offering him the dignity that he deserves, that everyone deserves, but he deserves more than many others, okay, for toiling the fucking land for a goddamn decade. When we kick that guy out of this country, then groceries are somehow magically going to be less costly. It's bullshit, but people believe it. And the reason why people believe it is because there is no one out there in a position of prominence that turns around and says, how the fuck is that going to help?